Everyone, hope you're doing well. Today's episode is all about the man between the sticks for West Ham, as we're going to be discussing 4 goalkeepers, 3 who are currently at the club and 1 who's expected to join very, very soon. Plus, we'll have a little update over our pursuit of Fabrício Bruno towards the end of the show. We're going to keep it till then. And yes, pun intended, thank you very much. Anyway, if you're new around here, please do subscribe and keep coming back. Okay, I promise you, no more goalkeeping puns. I've had my fun now. That's the end of it. But do subscribe and continue to return. Also, drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up. Both things are free. Takes a handful of seconds. Helps out the video. Helps out the channel. Makes me very happy. Consider it your good deed for the day done. Right then, let's talk business. Wes Foderingham is expected to join West Ham very, very soon. According to Roshane, who is a West Ham correspondent for The Athletic, a very credible source, stating this one that Foderingham is close to agreeing terms with West Ham. And I believe that. I'm expecting this to happen now. When the rumour initially came out a week ago, I wasn't best pleased with it. I thought, why would we go for Foderingham, a 33-year-old who I thought was possibly the worst goalkeeper in the league last season. Now, this is where statistics can be funny. He made the most saves in the Premier League last season. Now, you'd expect that for somebody playing for Sheffield United, but he also made the most errors leading to a goal in the Premier League. So one stat looks good, the other one not so good. But my opinion on the player has not changed since last week, but my opinion on the transfer has. But that's the latest, that we're expected to sign Foderingham. I still think he was the worst goalkeeper in the league last season. That hasn't changed. Him and James Trafford, but the latter ended up getting dropped by Vincent Kompany, who is now the Bayern Munich manager. Anyway, don't know why I threw that one in there. Just did. In terms of Foderingham, though, the reason my opinion has changed on the transfer is partly because Lopetegui wants him. The reports are that he wants 4 signings done by the time he starts his West Ham job. So he doesn't actually become the head coach of West Ham until the 1st of July. That's his official start date when David Moyes' contract expires on the 30th of June. And that's when Lopetegui will officially take over. So what he's doing right now is essentially charity work. He's just now doing charity work for West Ham and David Sullivan. Maybe that's part of the reason Sullivan really liked Lopetegui. But for the last couple of weeks and for the next month, anything Lopetegui does is for free. He's not getting paid. He's not official. His contract does not begin. But when it does begin, he wants 4 signings wrapped up. The reports are that we're going to be looking to make 7 signings this summer. Some people think that's not enough. That is fine. I'm going to discuss that in other videos. I'm going to try and keep this one to the goalkeeping situation. But one of those signings, he wants an experienced backup goalkeeper. That is what Foderingham is. Is he experienced? Yes. Is he going to be the backup goalkeeper? Yes. 33 years of age. His wages aren't that big. I tried to have a little look. These things can be vague. You Google anything regarding player salaries, you can get a very big variety depending where you look. But it seems to be around about 20-25 grand a week is what he's on at Sheffield United. And for those unaware, his contract comes to an end with Sheffield United at the end of June. So he's a free agent, so there's no transfer fee involved or anything like that. And he's going to essentially become our 3rd choice goalkeeper. Now, the reason I've changed my mind on the transfer is because I remember the David Martin situation. A few years ago when we signed David Martin, it felt a little bit, why are we getting this goalkeeper in when we had 2 senior goalkeepers at the club? Now, obviously, this was prior to knowing how bad Roberto was going to go on and become. But I remember speaking to a former West Ham goalkeeper, and he essentially explained as to why having an experienced 3rd choice keeper is pivotal. Because the reality is, we will never see Foderingham play in a competitive game for West Ham. Hopefully we don't. If we do, something's happened. Either Areola and Fabianski are both injured, or they're both in ridiculously bad form. We should never see Foderingham actually on the pitch for us next season. Because if we don't, then something's gone right with Areola and Fabianski. It's good news if we don't see this guy. But the reason we signed David Martin under Pellegrini was for the training ground. Now, I don't want to label him as a training ground goalkeeper. I think it's a very harsh title to give anybody, especially somebody that's got a pretty decent CV in football. He was at Rangers, at Sheffield United, got promoted with them. Yes, they got relegated, and like I said, I don't think he was a good goalkeeper at this level, but it's still he's done incredibly well with his career. So I don't want to just label him as a training ground goalkeeper, but essentially that is what his role will become. And the former West Ham goalkeeper was saying to me, when usually, in this case, Javi Valero, who's now under another manager at West Ham, he's staying. All the coaches have been dismissed, bar him. He's stayed once more. Stay of execution for Javi Valero. However, there's a lot of hype around him. He's supposedly one of the best goalkeeping coaches around. So he will frequently take the goalkeepers away, understandably, to do their own thing. So he'll take Ariel and Fabianski off and they'll go do their goalkeeping stuff. But what will often mean is when Lopetegui's doing his training or when the strikers are doing their training drills, they're then firing shots at a 16, 17-year-old in goal sometimes, and it's not very helpful for the attacking. When you're trying to do training drills and stuff like that and you've got an inexperienced goalkeeper in goal, there is a downfall to that. So having somebody experienced as David Martin, in this case Foderingham, in goal, it increases the quality of training that Bowen and Antonio are receiving from a goalkeeper when they're doing their attacking training. That changed my perspective of the David Martin transfer, and I've sort of gone back to that with this one. We will probably never see him, and I hope we do not. But last season, there was quite a few occasions where Anang was the goalkeeper on the bench and had something gone wrong with Ariel or Fabianski, and he was the one that had to come on. I would have been a bit concerned. Am I confident he was good enough for West Ham in the Premier League? I don't know. Well, no is the answer, but the reason is no, because there's no evidence of him. I think he'd done well for the under-21s. That's it. So with Foderingham, he's far more experienced than Trott. I'd be more comfortable with him coming on because I know he wouldn't be fazed by the occasion of playing in the Premier League for West Ham United. So I think it's a good transfer, and that doesn't necessarily equate to a fantastic goalkeeper, but we don't need someone to come in and compete with Areola and Fabianski. He's homegrown as well, so it ticks that box. I do think Anang had the advantage of being club trained as well, but we're not in European football, so it's not necessary for next season. However, the ambition has to be to qualify for European football again very quickly. Apparently, Lopetegui's contract has that clause in his contract. It's a 2-year deal, but there's a clause in there that if he achieves European football in those 2 years, he automatically gets a 3rd year. Fantastic. I like that that incentive in a manager's, head coach's contract. I'll get used to the change of terminology. I think it's a good incentive to have. And now we tick that box when it comes to European football again. But for next season, it's not really relevant. And Lopetegui's decided that he doesn't want Anang at the football club next season. And Foderingham is one of those, let's get the business done quick. It's quite inexpensive. He's homegrown. Happy days. Let there be light. When I started recording, it was bright in the room because of the sun. The sun's obviously disappeared behind the cloud. Anyway, the light is on now and we're going to keep it on. I apologise. Right, in regards to the 3 other goalkeepers, and they're all at West Ham, one of them is Joseph Anang. His contract is up at the end of the season, and the club have decided to release him, so he will not be at West Ham next season. He's been released, as is Knightsbridge. Now, both have done really well for a youth team and produced for the youth team as well, but the club have just decided that they're not too confident they have what it takes to step up at West Ham United. Wish them the best of luck, and I'll keep an eye on them wherever they go, and hopefully they do well and go on to prove West Ham wrong. But decisions have been made. In regards to Nathan Trott, a bit of a different one. He's been out on loan for the last couple of seasons in Denmark and done really well by the sounds of it. The fans really like him. I've seen quite a few fans praising his performances, and he's become a bit of a fan's favourite from what I understand. His contract was due to expire this summer, but it had a clause in there for a further 2 years, which the club could just trigger like that. Now, we've triggered it. The reports are we have triggered that clause, so it now runs until the summer of 2026. However, the club aren't sure about Nathan Trott, so they've got 2 options now, and different people are reporting different things here. Some are reporting that we're going to look to loan Trott out to a championship club in England next season. Others are reporting that we're going to sell him this summer and cash in. Likely, he's going to go back to Denmark. Copenhagen's one of the clubs looking at him as well. So it's sort of like his future's up in the air at the minute. It sounds like he's not going to be at West Ham next season. He will be somewhere else. It's just whether it's a permanent transfer, he goes on loan, and then off the back of that, is he going back to Denmark or somewhere else, or is he staying in England so that we can have a closer look at him in football that's very similar to the Premier League as much as possible. So the future for Trott is still up in the air. It just won't be at West Ham next season, that's for sure. Now, regarding Fabrício Bruno, this guy was expected to be our first transfer of the summer. Still might be. Tim Steidten has gone off to Brazil to get this one wrapped up. He's inquired about another couple of players while he's been over there. He's obviously working on the Wesley one, which has hit a few bumps in the road, I think, due to the valuation over him, who got an assist. I don't like it when I do this. Sometimes I don't like looking at highlights of players. I think it can be very misleading. You can make a player look really good. You could probably make Kudus look really bad. You could. If you went last season and started snipping out dribbles that you attempted but didn't work out, etc., you could put together 3 minutes worth of clips and make Kudus look like the worst footballer in the world. But we all know he's not. Likewise, you could go make him look like the best footballer in the world, which he isn't, and hopefully he will become one of the better ones in the world. I'm hopeful. My point is, highlights deceiving. I came across the Wesley assist. It was there. I just stopped. I watched it. Fantastic bit of skill. Lovely cross. The finish was all right as well. It was a really good assist from him. Possibly not what Tim Steidten needs when he's trying to negotiate a transfer for this player, him performing well. But, so that one, I'm unsure if that one will happen. The Fabrício Bruno, I'm still quite confident. Now, the latest is from Vene Casagrande, who is a Brazilian journalist. Now, I'm going to give this guy a little bit of credit first. I hadn't heard of him up before the last month, but since this Fabrício Bruno stuff has come out, he's been all over it. He's been quite prominent with it, quite accurate. He's been reporting stuff, and then it's been reported by our more familiar journalists and in the knows with West Ham, but he's been first to it. So he's obviously got very credible sources on the Brazilian side of things, and he did an update yesterday stating that Bruno has rejected our initial contract offer. So we know a deal has been done between West Ham and Flamengo. That has been done. Fabrício Romano shouted, "Here we go." We've agreed the fee. So everything's done between the clubs. It's now between us and Fabrício Bruno himself to get the deal done. He's rejected the first one. I am not bothered in the slightest. I would imagine most initial contract offers get rejected. It's part of negotiating. If a player accepts the first one, I mean, good for West Ham because we've almost got the low ball offer accepted. But I'd be surprised. I'd often think surely there's 2 or 3 rounds of this before something gets agreed. So I'm not concerned whatsoever, but he's reporting that he's in, but he does also say that it could happen, but at the minute he's due to play for his club on Sundays, available for selection if needs be. That's plenty time between now and then, 4 days. That's enough time for another contract offer and hopefully get it agreed so he doesn't play and risk injury, because this is where it's a little bit tricky. The transfer window isn't open yet. The international window opens a bit later as well. So in theory, we could sign him and he could still play for a few more weeks by coming to West Ham. So we need to be careful with this one. The last thing we want to do is buy him. He continues to play games and then he picks up an injury. But I think his club, Flamengo, are concerned. That's one of their concerns because obviously it's a bit of money, isn't it? 12.5 million. They want to get the money. They don't want the transfer to fall through as well, and they're reluctant to play him. I'm still confident this one happens. I'm just giving you the latest, which is he's rejected the first contract. Like, I'm 0% concern here. This has got to be a very, very normal thing when it comes to negotiating contracts. Like I said, who accepts the first? Why would you accept the first one? I expect the club make the first contract expecting it to be rejected as well, thinking, well, we think he's worth this. We'll offer him a little bit less and hopefully we can get away with it and save a little bit of money. Not concerned whatsoever. However, like I said, Casagrande has been really good. He's been all over this one. So if you're on Twitter, feel free to give him a follow. I'll put the link to his social media profile in the description below. But hopefully we'll have an update later on in the week. I'll be back tomorrow, possibly with a transfer rumour show, because there's been a lot of transfer rumours over the week while I've been in Scotland. I've been trying to keep up with it a little bit with a gird and whatnot as well. So there's a lot of talk going on. But that's the latest regarding it. I expect us to sign Wes Foderingham, and I expect us to still sign Fabrício Bruno. Anang and Knightsbridge is off. Nathan Trott, he's had his contract extended, but he won't be at West Ham next season. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. Please keep coming back. I didn't mean that one. Please keep coming back. Drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up. Subscribing you around here. Catch you tomorrow.